Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Not In, All In, a show that is, well, we just do this whenever we think we have something to talk about. I'm Kirk Buchner, along with Chris Mouradian and Longhorn Dave Whitlock. The three of us are members of the United States Athletic Hall of Fame Committee. So after you've watched this, or maybe pause right now, however you want to do it, it's okay. We won't mind, as long as you do both. Maybe you can multitask. I don't know. If you're a male, and you're married, you're probably told by your wives that you can't. Let's give it a shot anyway. Go to www.theusahof.com and vote now for who you think should be part of the third class of the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. And the great thing is, it's by the people, for the people. It's about as transparent as it gets. We all love Halls of Fames, so we created our own decided, we're going to eliminate all the things we hate, which is who's on the committee, who decides the stuff. You're all the committee. We just help decide who gets on the ballot. And after that, it's up to you. Because believe me, if I had my way, there'd be a certain hockey player who'd be on this already. I can't even get her on the ballot. Whamp, whamp. But that's neither here nor there. Before we look at the MLB All-Star Game, I'm dedicating this to my good friend in Alberta, a big Yankees fan. So, you've got a starting pitcher named Cam Schlittler. So, one of the people on our committee is AAA Iowa Cubs broadcaster Alex Cohen, a good friend of Chris's. But I always dreamed of being a baseball announcer. So maybe I could see if I could do this is my audition tape to see if I could sort of like get there with Cam Schlittler here. All right, here we go. Schlittler had so much gas on that pitch, he would need a chamber to contain it. No? Okay. All right. Well, the umpires are checking to see if he's got a foreign substance on that ball. Hopefully he didn't. Otherwise, we're going to have to call that a Schlitt ball.
That's better.
I like that one better. Oh, yeah. I'm going way down below on this one.
Oh,
this was Schlittler's third strikeout of the game. Basically, that's his third Reichout.
All right. Now you've gone a certain direction.
Well, then this one's going to be worse. It'll be the last one I'll do. Oh, he just hit Jordan Westberg in the head. That's the third time he's done that in this game. Incidentally enough, 3 times he did that at Spencer Horwitz yesterday. Because they're...
Yeah.
All right.
That was a good idea.
If I continue this, I'll be up Schlitz Creek.
Good way to wrap that segment up, Kirk.
Yeah, so send your hate messages directly to me.
Right here on the bottom there.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's all I got. I actually came up with some others, but they were way worse. They offended me. I still can't believe that their family didn't change that last name.
So baseball had an all-star game, huh?
Well, I was actually segueing right to that. That's where I was going. Yes, they did. And as much as I've got a couple issues with some of the replacement players, bluntly, I had so much fun watching it. I look at the All-Star game now as I try not to look at it as old man eyes, which sometimes I do when I look at, like, what was the stat that blew my mind the other day, that Zach Wheeler got his first complete game ever. What? How is that possible? We just lost Jim Clancy, a Blue Jay pitcher who I saw many times, and he did a lot of complete games, and wasn't even that. He was nowhere near the caliber of Zach Wheeler, but that's where we are. At least the players are playing. There's no strategy involved. If it's going to be about fun, you make it fun. You mic up these guys, and they're having a great time. I enjoyed it. It was Kershaw, who I still think shouldn't have been there because I hate legacy picks, but he was entertaining as hell on the mound. And I don't know about you guys, but when did they announce that they were going to do like a, what do they call it? A smack off, or not smack off? That sounds awful. What was it? I didn't mean that to be a joke. I honestly don't remember what they called it.
I didn't catch it either. Swing off.
Swing off. Thank you. Yes.
Swing something, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, smack on. I swear I wasn't going for something.
You were
God.
because you were watching SmackDown 2 days ago, Kirk.
That's
I was.
Yeah,
I actually was. I was 4 days ago. But
fair enough.
either way, I didn't know that that's what they were doing. And if you're going to end a game, look, you know what? That's fun. That's fun. Kyle Schwarber, he's meant for this. I mean, he's either going to strike out or home run anyway. And since he can't strike out, what's he going to do? He's going to hit. He's going to go deep. He's the MVP of the game. Fine, whatever, for basically batting practice. This shit doesn't matter anyway. It's a lot better than when they try to make it count. Screw it. It was fun. I loved it. I had a problem with the replacement of Missroski for the Brewers, one of your guys.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that for sure.
Yeah. And I'm sure this kid's gonna be fantastic. As Ron Katz pointed out to me, hey, he's got the same amount of wins as the starter Skeens, which is bizarre in itself. But I don't care who you are. I don't care if it was Babe Ruth in his prime, if he was injured and he only had 5 games that he played. You're not an all-star if you only played 5 games. Mm-hmm. Period. You're not. Thoughts?
Agreed. Yeah. No. There's a lot of positives to take out of here. So let me start out with some negatives. And Missroski being on there is one. Now, entertaining, sure. Showed that he had major league stuff, but again, 5 games is not, when you compare it to some of the pitchers that were left off the roster that could have filled in, that's where it becomes a problem. And since some of these players actually have bonuses tied into all-star selections, it doesn't make sense to pull something like that. The swing out at the end or swing off at the end, okay for an all-star game, but you better not put that in a regular season game. I fucking despise the shootout in hockey. I won't watch them. I'll turn the game off. I'll leave if I'm at a game before they happen. So you start pulling that. They're horseshit. So you start pulling that in regular season games, and you're gonna really screw with the game more so than they already have. And the other thing I have a problem with is the number of players that chose to opt out of this. If it doesn't mean that much to the players anymore, that they'd rather have the time off, then okay, name your all-star rosters and then make the premier event the futures game instead. Let them be the show, since they want to be there, as opposed to going 6, 7, 8 pitchers deep into your bag of replacements here.
So what players opted out that you thought should have played? I know like Jose Ramirez had a great week as player of the week. That I was like, I don't understand, because he's one of the star players, and we've talked about him before on the last show. Yeah. My opinion, he's a burgeoning superstar, a top 5 player that doesn't get enough play time. This was a huge opportunity for him to bat third or fourth, be on the big stage. That's one. Are there others that I missed?
Yeah, so I think like Matt Boyd. So it was put in a few years back where if you started on Sunday, you generally were considered ineligible for it. Now they're starting to go back to players that are pitching on Saturdays, and I think Matt Boyd was one of them. I think Freddie Peralta was another one, where it's like, you want the time off? Okay, fine. That's great. Then let's instead of digging in 6, 7, 8 players deep in the reserves here, let's put the players in the field that want to be there and put on an entertaining show, and get those names out there to the casual baseball fan that's tuning in to watch an all-star game. But like I said, that's my negative take on things here. What I was kind of frustrated with leading into the game, and just a cautionary statement regarding the skills competition at the end there.
I imagine, and I don't know this for sure, because everyone signs their contracts differently. I think every player has got it worked in their contract that they're going to get an all-star bonus of some sort. if you're healthy and you don't play, I guess you're not giving your bonus back, huh?
No.
No, you get the little star next to your name in the line for baseball reference and everything. So
yeah, I'll build on some of the things that Chris said because he made some great points. Hunter Brown for the Astros started on Sunday, so he was out. Then of course, we talked last week. Jeremy Pena, would he come back and play? And we pretty much agreed. In that regard, it makes sense. Just give yourselves an extra 3, 4, 5 days rather than try to get up for an inning. And then Josh Hader was the only other Astros pitcher, and I don't know why he didn't play, whether it was the manager's decision or sometimes the managers talk amongst themselves like, hey, I don't mind if you give my guy a day off. But no Astros players played here in Texas. No Texas Rangers player played. And so I struggle overall taking a step back, and this has been a 5 to 10 year problem of figuring you have to play everybody. I would rather just see it played like a game. Hey, great. You're an all-star reserve. You sit on the bench. Maybe you pinch run. Maybe you get a pinch hit on a matchup, but that's okay if Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani and some of these guys are in at the end of the game when it's 6-6, 4-6, 4-5, and let it play. I mean, you go back to the Pete Rose ran over Fossey in the 9th inning or whatever. I mean, it used to be in the good old days. Not with my old man glasses on, as Kirk described them, it used to really be where you saw the All-Stars play. And, hey, there's room for a couple substitutions. Maybe the fans didn't quite get a guy right. Maybe you want to put in a lefty-righty matchup. Pete Alonso, put him in a big situation where you need a big hit, something like that. So that's one take I have, and then I'll kind of build on that on the swing off. A lot of questions came the next day. Is like, what the heck was Boone thinking, putting these 3 singles hitters in, against a much more powerful Schwarber and Alonso in the NL, and it played out like you would expect. Then again, people are like, why didn't they put Judge in? Well, Judge had been sitting on his butt for 2 hours. You're not going to get him warmed up again, swinging, loosening up, all those things.
And you though, if he's not, you can't put him back in the game, right? Because players.
No, they did. Alonso had been pulled and Rooker had been pulled.
Oh, how they? Okay.
Yeah. You're right. I don't remember when they started this format. It's been an evolving format that I chose not to keep track of, like when they started to say this and that and 1 inning and bring a pitcher back or something.
I know it was that way with catchers. Like if a catcher got hurt, they could reinsert somebody and things like that. But as far as position players, I think this is the first time where they were able to use that, and obviously for not for a game situation, but for a contest there.
You call that. Yeah, because then that was the issue, was you had 3 catchers. Like, well, we don't want to play catcher number 3 because just in case somebody gets a foul ball off the wrist, we don't want to put a guy out there, put a third baseman. So I agreed with the catcher replacement. And at that point, it was just a piss off. Let's just have fun. Like you said, Chris, All-Star game, fine. I've seen the final score listed as 6-6 with an asterisk. I've seen the final score listed as 7-6. Even in the broadcast booth, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with the scorecard that I've kept all game. Do I put the pitcher in, the Dodgers, rag arm pitcher they put in, so it's all it was improvised. Certainly, the home field advantage thing was kind of a disaster in reaction to a tie that they couldn't figure out what to do. I don't like the runner on second base, so that's my complaint. Chris doesn't like the shootout, but the runner on second base in the regular season.
That's horseshit too.
Yeah. Baseball, I think, was the last sport that had, maybe basketball does, but had overtime in the regular season and the postseason be the same. And maybe basketball still does, but
I think basketball does. I'm not sure if they extend it to more than just the 5 minutes in the postseason, or if it's still just the 5-minute overtime quarters. But no, I missed the 14, 16, 18 inning games. Those were you get a doubleheader for the price of one.
And back to my original thing, if you played the game like a normal thing, now pitchers, you're probably going to rotate a couple innings each, but you would probably still have 4, 5, 6 pitchers at the end to roll in. Plenty of reserve players if somebody were to get hurt. Those days have passed. There's other things I'd like them to do, we'll talk about later, that I think they can do, but they're never going to go back to a format where you pick 9 starters and by the 8th or 9th inning, you've still got Judge, you still got Ohtani, you still got Lindor, you still got all these starting guys in the game.
The other thing, though, too, and for the life of me, I don't know when this started. Maybe this year, maybe it's been going on for years, and you guys can help me with this. When Missroski was picked, and there was all the backlash coming, especially from Philadelphia, from the players there, who thought Christopher Sanchez should have had that spot, and they were right. But Dave Roberts, the manager for the NL team, said, "Well, it's really out of my hands." And I was thinking, when did that sort of start? I thought it was always the managers who picked the reserves.
So I think the managers picked the initial reserves in consultation with the player voting and the commissioner's office to make sure that they got your California Angel on there and your Chicago White Sox, player like that. But I think after the initial teams are selected, then it falls to the commissioner's office to decide who's replacing the pitcher that decides to opt out, or the batter that wants to take the extra days off to rest his sore wrist or whatever.
I guess to your point, Kirk, is it was not transparent at all, like how these decisions were made, in my opinion. Like, we're figuring to the commissioner's office. I felt like Dave Roberts took some responsibility and said, well, I think it was the right pick because it's a popular game. And, I agree with you, Chris, on the selection. What if, I'll just put it this way. Astros have a rookie named Ryan Gusto. If Ryan Gusto had 5 starts and maybe 4 wins and a good ERA, would anybody be picking Ryan Gusto to go and be in the All-Star game? No, because he's not throwing 102 miles an hour and that. So now you're starting to say, well, I'm looking at, in college football recruiting, it'd be stars in recruiting, but I'm looking at the draft pick. I'm looking at the this, that, and the other, which gets away from. And to your point that you made a while ago, you get the star next to your name for that. We sit and debate year after year for Hall of Famers, like, well, this guy made 8, this guy made 5. Why did this player only make 3 and he's being considered? And we all take that into context. It's like that Pro Bowl in the NFL. We all know it's kind of there's these substitutions, and you start to look at all pro lists and all, certain things like silver sluggers and golden gloves is really the elite thing that you earn over the whole season, but it's still a factor. And in some cases it might be the person's only one chance to go to an all-star game, and now they're we're overlooked for an entertainment factor or a wow factor, or well, we put this guy in, maybe there'll be more people watch the game. Certainly doesn't resonate with me very well.
And
I just surprisingly I watched other channels besides not in Hall of Fame on YouTube here, and I did just come across one where
can you throw them off the show right now? Click the leave me. I'm kidding. We like
they were talking about I believe it was the 1989 All-Star team where Mike Schmidt was elected as the starting third baseman, and Jose Canseco was elected as the starting outfielder. Mike Schmidt had retired earlier in the year, and Jose Canseco had yet to play a game that year. Again, both those were situations where the fans took it upon themselves to elect players that they were more fans of. And, obviously in Schmidt's case, best third baseman of my lifetime here. The fans obviously sending him off with the thing. He wasn't actually eligible to play in the game. He showed up and took his bow and got to put the uniform on one more time. But talking about the times that the players get these selections here, sometimes it's really out of their control as well, and out of the manager's control. It's it goes back to the fans and things like that. So we can't absolve the fans of not kind of contributing to some of this as well.
Yeah, although we did say how they're getting a lot better and more sophisticated, despite the fact that it's a lot easier to sort of manipulate the system with by voting online. Like for me, I was always like, Sandy Alomar again. Like, no, it's not Roberto twice. What are you doing?
Yep.
But oh well. Any other final thoughts on the All-Star game?
Yeah, I'd like to pull on the what bothered me the most, and if you follow my Twitter feed at LHD on sports, I'm really getting more and more bothered by the in-game interviews with players. I get that it adds some context. I actually thought the Kershaw, he faced 2 batters and they were talking pitch to pitch. That was pretty fun. And I said, okay, that's fun. Now let's get back to the game. And it just starts to become a part where, there's two particular segments, one with, I think, Pete Alonso, and then one with Jacob Wilson, where hey, great, Jack Wilson's in the crowd, Jacob's on the field, we're going to have this interaction. And I think in that particular case, it was Brian Wu for the Mariners pitching. They gave no context to his pitching, not any, who's this guy? Where did he come from? Why is he good? Wow, he's really done great this year. Look at these particular starts. He's done well. Three batters rolled through, didn't talk about them. And it becomes, Brian Wu, if this is his only All-Star game, is going to show, hey, grandkids, here's the time I was in the All-Star game, and it was Jack Wilson talking the whole time, about throwing stickball in the backyard and what he liked to eat for dinner and all that. And it just, and then they cut to a few innings where they didn't do that. I was like, this is great. Like a player's coming up I haven't heard of from the Marlins or somebody like that, and they're talking where he came from. There's a lot of Washington Nationals in this game that were in that Soto deal. So then you start talking about, oh, look what the Nationals did. They took a piece, they moved him, they got some pieces. They're really rebuilding, and that would have been just so much more interesting to hear that analysis and broadcast than just these interviews during the game. And I was just going crazy, like, please stop this, please quit this in game. Sometimes, what do you think about the Pete Crow Armstrong was mic'd up, and run to left, you're a little gat, it's all this stuff that's not the game. And so, old man glasses on again, that would have never happened in the Joe Garagiola days or the even Scully days. It would have been, let's tell the stories of these players. Let's talk about where they came from, how they overcame adversity, how they were cut, and released and came back and caught on to a team. But instead, we're hearing, what Pete Alonso thinks about the NL East and where he ate dinner last night, and what he thought about the curveball last inning. It's gotten out of hand. So, all right.
Yeah, can I take on to something that the whole interaction with the players, things like that, that is such a new thing. It was during the NHL playoffs, you always have to, you come out of the break and you got the coach having to talk to the sideline reporter or side ice reporter, whatever. Now they're doing it in the NFL. That's going to be a thing this year where they're going to have the coaches have to do an interview every game during the game. And I'm done with it in all sports. Just play the game. For the All-Star game, bring in a bunch of the announcers from the teams. Let other cities hear the voices of Detroit or Chicago. The Cubs guys down there or whatever. Let them talk, especially if you can get them on when some of their players are in the game, so you get a little more knowledge from the person that's been watching them all season. I prefer that, as opposed to a jabber jaw back and forth with the player as they're trying to focus on what their next pitch is going to be.
I don't know. I kind of liked it, but you were right though. With that analogy with Brian Wu, and he does have an interesting story. I mean, he was pretty mediocre in college.
No.
So the fact that he nice to like get here and become an all-star on a pretty goddamn good pitching staff that Seattle has here. Yeah, you're 1,000% right. I guess I was just getting a kick out of it, maybe because I put on my old man pants a lot. I yelled off my lawn a lot for a guy who lives in an apartment, but it's you're right. I guess I just accepted this as what it is. And probably the only All-Star game that I do watch, because I don't watch the Pro Bowl, because what am I watching? I'm not watching flag football.
Yeah. It's the last All-Star game where they actually play the game the way it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, they throw 102-mile-an-hour fastballs. The hitters are trying to hit it as hard as they can. There's some outstanding defensive plays yesterday too. Eugenio Suarez in the ninth. It turned out to not be enough, but
yeah, who knew defense in an All-Star game?
I have one more point that I think we can violently agree on is like, thank God they brought back the hometown uniforms to wear instead of those generic ALNL ones. You could watch the game. If it's hit to shortstop, you knew it was an Oakland A's guy at short. If it's hit to right field, you know it was a Pirates guy catching it. And everything I heard online and following on Twitter was like, it was just a shill to sell jerseys that I never see in stadiums. I never go to an Astros game and see somebody with, an Jose Altuve 2022 All-Star jersey, so they got back to that. You know, you went to those old footage of Dave Parker throwing guys out from right field wearing the old yellow and black. So that was a good move by baseball. So a step in the right direction. Another thing I thought was going one direction where that we'd never see that again, and they finally came to their senses.
Well, I guess, like you said, though, if they're not selling, then if it costs them money,
Yeah,
probably what it was. I don't. The only other thing I really wanted to talk about today, and just something I brought up, I'm sort of like bombarding you with both of you with this, only because, well, I can. I'm a big fan of women's tennis, not so much men's tennis, mainly because they're just so powerful. There's just not nearly as many volleys. So women's tennis is far more fun for me to watch.
Easier on the eyes for sure.
Are you making? Usually I'm the one who sort of like borders on being offensive, but
no, I'm stepping up to the plate tonight for that one.
I appreciate that. Welcome to Kirk World. Population now too. Iga Świątek won Wimbledon. I think she's the first person ever to win 6-0-6-0. Granted, her path was, well, it wasn't her fault. You play who's against you. She didn't play against a top 10 player because they all got eliminated. But I tweeted this, and I've been trying to think if any other athlete can come close to this. I tweeted that I think she is the most underappreciated star athlete of the last 30 years. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe ever.
Ready for me to talk? You want to finish off a thought?
Well, I was just going to say, she's the best player in the game since Serena. Dominating. So it's because she's European. Well, she speaks pretty damn good English. So there's no language barrier when she talks. I don't know why. Maybe she's very shy. Maybe she just doesn't want to talk to the media. Maybe she doesn't have an agent pushing this stuff. Because a lot of it is how you're pushed. Or just sometimes people love you and sometimes people don't. So, yeah, I mean, like, am I wrong here? Or is there someone else who might be in that contender?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think a lot of times athletes aren't pushed. Their personality doesn't shine through. Maybe it's natural, maybe it's controlled, because if you have too much of a personality, you can be put on the one side or the other, or then you open yourself to criticism. So interesting you say that. So my Sportsman of the Week blog came out, and she was a top contender for the Sportswoman of the Week in this case. She's already won it twice on my blog, and 3 times is kind of like the holy grail. Like nobody's won it more than 3 times. And I looked, I was like, she's still only 24 or 25. So I want to maybe reserve that 3rd time for another. Each time you win it, I'll openly advertise. It's harder to win it the next time. I don't just throw them at you. So I just said, well, gosh, she's already won twice. I wonder, the country of Poland is not a hotbed of sports in terms of media or hype. That doesn't mean, the international tennis circuit that features athletes from all over the world. But if she was from a larger, let's just say a Western European country like France or Italy, or she was an American, think of all the Americans some Americans that have won recently that instantly get put on commercials and advertised. So I wonder if it's just a little bit of a dead spot there. I don't watch the sport intensely. I see highlights, so I can't say I thought she was like only the number 3 seed. Are there 2 people rated higher than her?
I think that was the case, just from the way the seedings will sort of work based on activity,
right. Which is super.
But either way, like usually she's money when it counts.
Yeah, so like nobody else has won twice recently on the women's side. Djokovic and Nadal and all those guys won 3 times on the men's side, and I have to temper them. And I thought about Sinner, but he won like last year, so I'm like, okay, let's hold off on giving him too much. But so I mostly agree with you. Not being a huge fan of the sport, I think certainly she's not a name that's a household international superstar, and so you're pulling on something there that there's something missing as to why not. And she seemed nothing to stop her from winning many more of these major titles.
Is there anyone that you think might be sort of like, when you think of the history of, oh my God, this person was a superstar in their field and yet could walk into a mall and not be swarmed. The only one that I can think of is Mike Trout.
Yeah, I would say he's more recognizable now. Not recognizable because he doesn't play so much because he's hurt, but I think he would struggle with that. Still emerging, but Tariq Skubal like looks like a normal guy to me. They don't pump him too much on the front. If I was standing next to him in the line at Denny's, I wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah, I think a sport like maybe football, like a lineman in football, that because you got the helmet on, you don't actually see the face. Maybe that could be a situation like that where players are just, an Aaron Donald. Is he really outside of our world? Would somebody really recognize him if he was walking down the street, other than just, hey, that's a big dude. It's gonna stay away from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something more to it. I don't know. Sometimes I compare her to Naomi Osaka, who is slightly overrated and overexposed, and she's got the personality of a pylon. You ever see her talk? She can't talk. But, people love her. Sometimes there's just something about, maybe because she also looks a little bit different than a lot of other people. There's not a lot of Blasians in the world. And if you want to count the amount of Blasian top athletes, there would be Naomi Osaka and Heinz Ward.
Tiger Woods.
Oh, Tiger Woods. Yeah, but he calls himself Caliban Asian. Didn't he do that at one point? Yeah. Tiger. Yeah.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I know there's an Eldrick Woods.
Eldrick. I think it's his brother.
Thanks. Well, that's pretty much all I got, guys, unless there's something else that sort of struck your fancy. I know it's sort of a dead week. I know right now the ESPYs are on and I could care less.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. Alex Palou, how about him as somebody that wouldn't be recognized around most places?
Yeah.
Three-time, gonna be soon to be four-time IndyCar champion.
Yeah, that's 100%. IndyCar is a sport. I think NASCAR to an extent, but there's got some big faces that you would recognize. But I think IndyCar slides beneath the radar in this country in terms of recognizable, again, because you got a helmet on. Even though he wins a lot, I think I could be on a flight next to him, sit next to him, and not recognize him.
Yeah, I think you really have to be a fan of the sport to pick these guys out. Even like a Joseph Newgarden, they gave him a little bit of celebrity type push with the switch over to Fox Sports or Fox for the coverage this year. But I think even he would still kind of fly a bit under the radar if you weren't a big race fan.
Okay. And congratulations, belated to Joey Chestnut. I like hot dog eating competition. I don't know why.
Joey Chestnut, he wouldn't be recognized.
He might be more recognized than a lot of other people.
He would absolutely be recognized. Swarmed him.
Competitive eating boggles my mind. I don't know how they do that, and they're not the size of King Kong Bundy. I don't understand at all. But
nor do I want to be honest with you, Kirk.
But I'm only ever fascinated one day of the year. So
it's perfect.
Yes, that seems to work for me. Anyways, with that, this brings the show to a close. Wherever you are, wherever it may be, make today count. And remember, you're going to go vote at www.theusahof.com and check out the Sportsman of the Week at lhdonsports.com or right there. It's right there.
lhdonsports.com. Yep, you got it.
Okay. Yeah, I just have it bookmarked somewhere, so I don't even remember. It's like, and what's your wife's phone number?
Push picture.
Yeah.
Telephone.
I don't know. Take care, everybody.